Welcome to the Tonya Hofmann's fabulous TV show. I'm here with an amazing guest star, like always, Mr. Matthew Pollard. Hey, Matthew.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. And we're going to hear all about him and what he's got going on in just a second. But I want to remind you that we want you to go out and change lives from the front of the room. And the way to get going on that is to join the Public Speakers Association. So simply go to Public Speakers with an S, Association, all spelled out.com to find out how you too can get involved, get on this show, get on our virtual summits, get on all kinds of fun things so that you can get your name known and your message heard. All righty, so let's go over and talk to Mr. Matthew. So Matthew, what do you have going on nowadays? What's fabulous in your world?
Well, actually, an interesting question. So I just got back from Austin, which I know is your home city too. So I just did a book launch there because, when I moved to the US, I lived in Austin for 4 years. It's where I started the Small Business Festival, which is listed by Inc. as the #3 festival in America for small business. So I wanted to go back to where I consider home just to do my book launch. And it was fantastic to see so many friendly faces. And now I'm back in Chapel Hill, which is where I call home now, for about a week and a half before I end up in Sacramento and then Buffalo, New York. So no, it's been a great time. My new book's doing fantastically, and I'm really enjoying getting the opportunity to see a lot of the people who supported me along the way.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about the book.
Well, the book's an interesting one for a lot of people because it kind of flies in the face to common logic. So the premise of the book, it's called The Introvert's Edge, How the Quiet and Shy Can Outsell Anyone. Now, for a lot of people that are introverted, they have this assumption that they can't sell because they don't have that gift of the gab. And a lot of speakers also have this assumption that they can't present from stage because they don't have the gift of the gab, and then selling from stage, well, that's a whole nother story. So for me, so my backstory is that, I had a reading speed of a 6th grader in late high school, horrible acne, and kind of fell into sales because I took a job at a real estate agency to be the data entry person, not the person upselling. And then the company went broke just before Christmas. And in Australia, Christmas is a month, right? Because it's summer and Christmas at the same time. So people take off the 20th of December to the 15th to 20th of January. So the only job I could get was commission-only sales. And after 5 days of product training, I get thrown on a street and told to go sell, and no one had given me sales training. So it was like 93 doors before my first sale, getting told to get a real job, getting rejected, feeling horrible. And then I made about $70 that day. And I was happy on that 93rd door for about 45 seconds until I realized I had to do it every day for the rest of the year. So I had to find a different way. And I think a lot of people, when their back's against the wall, they look for solutions or they give up. And my dad worked 80 hours a week for as long as I can remember to support us. So giving up really wasn't an option. So I started looking for other ways, and I read, I looked at books like Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar, but I had a reading speed of a 6th grader, so I couldn't exactly read those books. So instead, I gravitated to YouTube and found that there's a lot more there than just cat videos, right? So I looked at all the different strategies and realized that it was just a system like any other. And what the book's about is, what I found is I had to kind of listen to all this training and then filter out all the bulldog techniques and all the hard closes that just made me feel icky. So then the book itself, because, since then I got promoted. I was the #1 sales performer in the largest sales and marketing company in the Southern Hemisphere. I got promoted 7 times. Fast forward a few more years, I've been responsible for 5 multi-million-dollar business success stories. So the book was really about writing to help people understand they don't have to have the gift of the gab. They don't even have to do bulldog techniques and hard closing. If they just follow a natural step-by-step process that leads to a sale, that embraces things like questions and active listening, which is one of the introvert's stronger points, and then utilize story to develop rapport, which has, stories have this scientifically proven to create this natural resonance between the teller and the listener of the story.
Right.
Then all of a sudden they build this, it's scientifically proven to develop this rapport that normally introverts struggle with. So I put all this down into a book and we launched it. And, it's been positively reviewed by Publicity Weekly, by Booklist. It's in 600 Barnes & Noble stores. It's in, airport bookstores, across the world, actually. It's in Melbourne, Australia as well. And it hit bestseller on Audible, which I thought was super cool. Because for me, with the reading speed issue, Audible's like my go-to for learning. And now it's sitting between Brian Tracy's and Zig Ziglar's audiobooks, which for me, as an author, there's nothing better. So, but I'm really happy to see how many endorsements it got. It got endorsed by Harvard, Princeton, Neil Patel, about 57 actually people, and then a bunch of reviews on Amazon. So no, the book's going really well. And for me, I think it's the first step for a lot of introverts because, as I go through this, I find that introverts, I've got a podcast called The Introvert's Edge, and I've interviewed some of the best networkers in the world, like Ivan Meisner, the founder of BNI, and he's an introvert. And then people that speak on stage, like Ryan Deiss, who owns Traffic and Conversion Summit, and other speakers like Brian Smith, the founder of UGG Boots, the billion-dollar brand, they're all introverts and they're all exceptional at what they do.
I know people have a hard time believing that I'm an introvert. I always say I'm a recovering introvert because at some point you're like, okay, this is not as hard as I thought it was. And I always tell people, if you're an introvert, it's so much easier to be on stage because you're actually drawing people to you because they can feel that kind of angst that you're needing their, kind of support versus an extrovert that kind of is pushing on them because they have so much energy and so much, vitality of, I don't really care that what you think, that kind of play.
Definitely. I mean, I think that for introverts, we focus a lot on authenticity. So we just can't get on stage and tell people facts. We can't get on stage and be blasé about things. We need to make sure it's all based on credibility, our past experience, our past clients, and stories of what we've done. So when introverts discover that, we become super powerful. And this is one of the things that I've really focused on is that a lot of people have the mindset that you just said, I'm a recovering introvert. The truth is introverts have a superpower that extroverts don't. Once they get over the hurdles that they have, for instance, we believe we have to have the gift of the gab. And as soon as we learn the fact that sales is a system like any other, we then get past that problem. But extroverts have their own problems. They struggle to listen well. They don't have as much empathy as introverts. So they have to learn things like active listening and how to develop better empathy. While on the flip side, an introvert has to learn that sales is a system and how to develop rapport, but they're amazing at listening. They're amazing at empathy. So they actually have really great strengths. And this happens on stage as well. Being a presenter or being a networker, it's just a system like any other. And what I find is that introverts gravitate to the system. And as you know about any element of your business, once you systemize it, it gives you and delivers you predictable results, and always results higher than just doing it off the cuff. So while an extrovert may outsell an introvert on any given day, or may out network or present on any given day, an introvert over the course of a year will beat the extrovert absolutely hands down.
Yeah, I love that. And, what's great too is that you're talking about, having this issue with, learning and reading. Because I know myself, my sister who's world renowned for distance learning, she goes and she travels and speaks. My son and my daughter's been on stage and wowed everybody, but yet we've got kind of a dyslexic issue type of thing that's not really dyslexia. They say it is, but it's different. And we got over it, and a lot of times I think that little bit of a struggle kind of sets you up to, I got to challenge myself. I don't mind challenging myself because I already do it since I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to throw it out there. So I got misdiagnosed with dyslexia as a kid, and then I got properly diagnosed with scotomic sensitivity syndrome, or what they call Irlen syndrome. And I was one of those people, put on a pair of glasses and it changed. But, I got diagnosed with that when I was 16. So I had to start reading again at that point. Now, for me, though, I think that they always say that, I always say that, the adversities in life kind of stem the success of our future, or seed the success of our future. And the reason why I say that is, for me, if the world worked for me, I wouldn't have come up with this strategy for sales. I would have just found something that was comfortable for me. So, the same reason, like all my success in business, while I always thought it was because of my ability to sell, and it was actually because of a large amount. I mean, I now consider sales really step 3. What I find is that if you know how to separate yourself from everybody else, so you're not seen as a commodity, and then understand a niche of willing to buy clients, then the whole sales process becomes a lot easier. And I discovered that as well because, and in a large respect, I think it's because the world didn't work for me. So I had to think differently. And I see speakers all the time. They struggle to be seen as a speaker that's different to everyone else. So they put themselves on eSpeaker or other platforms, and it's like, who's got the cheapest price wins. And that's not the answer to being successful as a speaker. the answer to being successful as a speaker is really having a unique message that excites and inspires people to want to know more, understanding who your niche that you speak to is, and then having a diverse product offering so you don't just get paid to speak, but you've got ways of leveraging income after that.
I love it. I love it. And so when you start really going out, because you do so many amazing things, you're putting on all these events and you're really connecting to a lot of people. I find, because, you know, I do the same thing, is I really gravitate to the relationship type of speakers and business people versus the transactional people, because they seem very cold and, you know, just get it done, versus people that want to do a long-term relationship. And I think that's why the two of us have really kind of hit it off.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that anybody that thinks differently about business and doesn't have that transactional mindset, I definitely gravitate to. I think that a lot of speakers kind of do have that transactional mindset in a lot of ways, because they speak at an event and they know they're not going to be invited back for a few years. So they kind of do the deal and they move on. And I think that's a real big problem in the speaker industry, because the truth is that those places are the ones that are going to recommend you. Those are the ones, I mean, I did this thing for the first 2 years that I came to the United States. Every single time I spoke at an event, I got them to do a video testimonial for me. I asked them what else they were doing. I really invested in those people. But on top of that, most of them became clients. Well, pretty much all of them became clients afterwards, or their association members did, or their chamber members did, or their corporation became a physical client. And I think that that's one of the things that speakers really struggle with. And, you know, what I'll do is explain the way I see speaking as a business is, firstly, you've got to have a I'll give you an example. So I could say I'm a sales trainer. I could say I'm a marketing specialist, or, I'm all these things. Nobody cares. But when I say I'm the rapid growth guy, I help organizations large and small obtain rapid growth, that gets me heard in a crowded marketplace. All of a sudden, I'm not a commodity like everybody else, because it's like, what is this rapid growth thing? That sounds cool though. And I think that that has a fit in our association or our membership or whatever. Now, the difference then becomes, who is my customer? See, I find a lot of speakers that are like, I'll speak for anyone, I just need a gig. That means that you're basically a jack of all trades, a master of none. You're speaking to everybody, which is speaking to no one. For me, I understand my ideal customer is a service provider business. Now, how does that relate to speaking? Well, when I speak at a chamber of commerce, there's generally 150 to 200 business owners in that room. When I speak at an association, there's generally 100 to 1,000 business owners in that room. So those are my ideal targets for when I speak, because while I might make several $1,000s to 5 figures speaking in that room, as a speaking fee, I make well over 5 figures afterwards, and I never sell from stage. Absolutely never. I just offer something that's free that I'll give them. I'll actually make an excuse to say, you notice there's nothing that I sell at the back of the room. It's because I hate doing that and I won't do that. But I do have this free thing that, will help you create your unified message and discover your niche of willing to buy clients, which is how I came up with my unified message and how I come up with the unified messages of all my clients. Just go to Matthew Pollard. Well, I actually asked for their card, but for the people listening today, I asked them to go to matthewpollard.com/growth and download that. But what I find is when I say that, more than 50% of the room gets up and hands me their card. There's been times where I've had a procession of an hour-long line just to give me their cards after an event. So by understanding that I make money from speaking in an event, but then I want to speak in front of my ideal clients, so then I can direct them to an email campaign that gets them to book a phone call with me, but still gives huge value, and then transition them into a client, whether that be my online academy client or my one-on-one clients. That's the key to a really successful speaking business. I mean, I just got shortlisted and it's looking like I'm going to be speaking at the Microsoft Inspire event, which is in front of 18,000 people. And all of those, this is what's called a user conference, which most people as speakers have no clue these things even exist. They're like, oh, I want to speak at a corporate gig. A user conference is they're inviting 18,000 of the people that sell the Microsoft product into the room to learn more about the product, more about how to run their businesses more. They're small businesses. So I now get paid 5 figures to speak in front of 18,000 small businesses that will then likely lead across to my academy or my one-on-one service. As a speaking business, because I'm not just a sales or a marketing trader, because there's going to be a bunch of those there, because I'm the rapid growth guy, firstly, it got me invited to speak at that event. But secondly, because I understood my niche, I was like, sure, I'll happily speak there because I knew my ideal customers would be there, and it would give me a great opportunity, not from selling on stage, which I don't do, but to introduce myself to this group of people and then transition them to working with me one-on-one. By having a diverse offering, as a speaker, you can go from struggling to make 5 figures as a speaker to making closer to the 6 to the 7 figures as a speaker. But most speakers just focus on that transactional speaking event, and you can't do that. But most speakers as well focus on saying, oh, I'm a time management speaker, or I'm a management leadership trainer. That's ridiculous. I mean, as our entire lives, we've learned to fit ourselves into these boxes for employment. But you guys run your own business. Being a commodity is actually the thing that stops you from being successful, as opposed to makes you highly more likely to do so.
Love it. And I know you have something you'd like to share with our audience or listeners today. What is that?
Sure. So for the people that are listening, there are 2 things. So firstly, we discussed my book. And for me, one of the things that I really am focused on is I don't want people to have to pay money to understand that sales is a process like any other. So if there's introverts out there that are listening to this and they're interested in the book, I mean, I think the book's listed currently, it's on special for $14.95. But if you don't want to invest in a book just yet, you just want to understand the system. Chapter 1 actually is more than 10% of the book. And I've been very specific in making sure that it's not some of the fluffy stuff to get you excited about the rest of the book, but it actually completely articulates the entire sales system. And if you do nothing more than look at that, grab what you currently say in a sale and try and fit it in, throw out the stuff that doesn't fit, and then fill the gaps, you'll double your ability to sell in the next 60 days. So that's the first giveaway, and you can get to that by going to the introvertsedge.com. You just go there and you'll be able to download the first chapter. Now, for people that want to understand it, that are struggling to understand how to differentiate themselves in this market, how to not be seen as a commodity, how I became the rapid growth guy, or how, other speakers have become the narrative strategist or the China success coach, or that's really about separating yourself in the marketplace. By having a brand, it's actually really not that difficult. I did this 5-step process. I did it at the Freelance Association just recently, just under 200 people in the room. And at the end, I said, now who's got a message that they now feel that they can sell more effectively with? 97% of the room put their hands up. So that's, if I'm a business coach, instead of saying I'm a business coach and at a networking event and somebody say, oh no, I've already used business coaching before, it didn't work for me. And now I feel like I'm shoving something down somebody's throat because they didn't ask, trying to explain why I'm different. On the flip side, it's saying, oh, I'm the rapid growth guy. Oh, I've never heard of that before. What exactly is that? Now I get to explain on their invitation. Now, so I did that at the National Freelance Association, and 97% of the room said that they now had a great message that they felt comfortable walking out the room with and getting more clients. And, there are people that I've got testimonials that have doubled their business in 60 days just by doing that. But here's the sad thing. It was a 45-minute session, and when I said, keep your hands up, if this is the longest time you spent marketing since you started your business, 85% of the room kept their hands up. So the key is, if you want to do this, go to matthewpollard.com/growth, and that's your key to stop commoditizing yourself as a speaker. It works, but you actually have to do it.
Wonderful. All right, everyone. So immediately go and take advantage of Matthew's amazing 2 offers so that you can start moving and adjusting and growing yourself, so that you can go and help more people out there. So thank you, Matthew, for being on today. And I'd love to have you back again.
You're very welcome. I've loved being here. Thank you.
Yay. All right, everybody. We will see you next time on the Tonya Hofmann's fabulous TV show with another incredibly fabulous guest star. So thanks, Matthew. Bye, everybody.